Something interesting happened to me this week that has given me a new perspective and theory on when we feel our twin flame's higher self practically in our physical presence. I know some of you have felt that, right? I see people talk about it in the Facebook groups. So, okay, in the beginning stages of my journey, I could very I don't know the right words to use to talk about this because it's so crazy sounding. But I'm just gonna say it, and you guys get it. I know you get it. So it feels so visceral. It feels so real. I remember getting chakra bowl cleansings like in the very, very, very beginning stages. I don't even think I knew about my spiritual warfare yet. So this would be like 2017 when I first learned we were twin flames. And I could literally feel his higher self's 4D presence like laying next to me in bed. And I feel it like, you could say like a ghost, but it's not a ghost. It's so hard to explain, but I know you guys get it. I could literally feel his 4D self laying next to me. He would hold my hands. I felt his 4D self kiss me on the forehead. And that's just one experience that I'm thinking of. Of course, right now I can't think of others, but you know what I'm talking about, like other examples like that. I remember in those early days when I was struggling more, I could feel my twin flame's 4D self like as if he was standing right next to me, laying right next to me, sitting right next to me. There's been times in, I don't remember when, but just in more recent years when I would say that I haven't been struggling as much, I should say. So more often I'm fine and not feeling triggered or aching for the connection like I did in the very beginning. But I would still get triggered here and there. I do still now get triggered here and there, okay? I don't think that, maybe not until union, I don't think that anyone stops getting triggered at all, just so you know. Like, it just, the more in inner union you are and the more surrendered you are, which is also the more healed you are, you get triggered less and less and less. It's much less frequently, but it still happens sometimes. So if I'm super triggered and I'm like laying down crying or just laying down because I want to be laying down because I'm upset or whatever, I will feel his 4D self like wrap his arms around me, like comforting me. And I've also had where, whether I was fully in a meditative state or partially in a meditative state, I've also had where I've had conversations with his 4D higher self, could be 5D higher self, but I definitely think that feeling the physical presence is more 4D self, just so you know. But anyway, so yeah, whichever higher self it is, I've definitely also had conversations with him as well, and in some type of meditative state. Sometimes I'm deeper, sometimes I'm not as deep in a meditative state. But anyway, but I have had those as well. More often going to be when I'm triggered or upset, because it's not like a fluffy conversation, so to speak. It's not a fight, but it's a real conversation. Kind of like how he's comforting me, putting his arms around me, but also in those conversations he would be talking to me about whatever it is that I'm upset about. So I experienced all of that a lot more in the early stages of my twin flame journey, in the separation part. So I paused because my journey, I didn't even know we were twin flames the first 4 years. I had never even heard of twin flames. So I'm talking about, once I heard of twin flames, once I realized what this was, I stopped running because then I realized what this was. I'm like, okay, I get it now. So once the twin flame understanding was activated. And that was also the most painful and difficult time for me as well. That was the beginnings of the separation. and I was just hurting a lot more. So like my wounded self was needing more presence and comfort from his higher self, and I felt his higher self a lot more. Over time, like I already said, as I healed, as I'm more in inner union and more surrendered, which has been a deepening and deepening and more deepening process over the past several years. I can't even remember when it started, but it's been a continual process over years that has only increased more and more. So that's what you can expect as well. But anyway, the more I've healed, the less I have felt his higher self like with me in those ways. He's felt more like he's always with me. Again, super hard to explain. I tried to explain this to him the other day and I could not figure out how to explain it because it's so hard to find the words. But I feel him with me all the time, and the best way I think that I found to explain it was to say, like, it's like I can feel his energy current like running alongside mine, and it's always there and he's always present, but just like sometimes it's quieter and sometimes it's louder, you could say. Or what I said was sometimes he feels closer, sometimes he feels more distant, but that's it. And my interpretation was that the more in inner union I became, the more like merged our higher selves became and the more integrated. So I didn't feel him separately as much. Instead, we're just, like I said, in my mind, more merged. So hence not separate. Not feeling him separately. Well, this week, the beginning of the week, I had a few interesting experiences. And I came to find out that he was super stressed. Like, I talked to him in the 3D midweek, and he was extremely stressed and extremely sick and just like not in a good mental, emotional place. And what I had experienced from the weekend up until that point was several days in a row of either dreaming, like having dreams in which we were interacting, and you could say our higher selves were interacting, and they were dreams, so whatever. But having dreams where we were spending time together, which could very easily have been our higher selves spending time together. And then not only that, there was one day in particular where almost the whole day it was very hard for me to stop thinking about him at all. And it literally felt like he or his higher self wanted to just spend the day like laying down with me. And I kept seeing, having this vision come into my mind of us like laying down together, him laying down with me with his head like buried in the crook of my neck, and just cuddling in different ways and spending time together emotionally and physically intimately. But it was like a constant, it was almost hard for me to turn it off for me to be productive. And it came to me that I think that this is a theory, I don't know for sure. I could ask his higher self, I suppose, and confirm, but which I haven't done so far. But my theory is that because he himself, his physical self, was so stressed and sick for that period of time, he needed my comfort. In the early stages when I was upset, I needed his comfort, and his higher self was with me. And I literally felt it. And this time, he needed my comfort because of him being super stressed and sick. And I literally consciously felt his higher self reaching out to me and my energy to spend time with me and to receive nurturing and healing from my energy. And I really believe that I was interacting with his 4D higher self, but this time, rather than his 4D higher self giving me comfort when I was upset, he was reaching out to me for comfort and for healing. And that made me realize it's not that the more healed you are, or the more in inner union you are, the more they're merged, the more our higher selves are merged. It's actually that the more healed you are, the less you need their higher self to be viscerally there for you. So the more healed you are, the less you need them and the less you feel them separately, and they're just always quietly with you.